This is the TCL T-34001 CRT television. It has a curved screen that is 34 centimeters in size, or 14 inches. What I particularly like about this television is the assortment of connections that it has available. At least as far back as 1991, we can see TCL involved in the CRT television market. In 2002, TCL acquired all of the German company Schneider's electronic assets, which included television brands Schneider and Dual. Occasionally you will see SCART CRTs here in Australia under the name Schneider or Dual. A year later, in 2003, TCL set up a joint venture with Thomson, a French multinational, to manufacture all of Thomson's DVD players and televisions. Thomson was yet another prolific SCART TV manufacturer. With these acquisitions, TCL's expertise in CR technology grew. However, by the year 2006, the TV industry was changing from CRT to the flat panel era rapidly, which now brings us to this review of today's television. On the front we have the usual, the buttons, TV, AV, menu, volume up, down, program up, down, remote sensor, standby light, power switch. There's the lead. Fortunate enough to get the paperwork with the television, proper matching remote. I think it's 2 AA's. Surprisingly not triple A's. There's the instructions, warranty cards, South Melbourne, the distributor, or TCL Electronics Australia, warranty card. I also believe the television is stereo with a speaker in both sides. Let's see if that's true. Let's see if it's true stereo and not just mono through 2 speakers. Let's also double check inside that there are speakers on both sides. TCL label on the back, can you see that all right? Is it not too shady? Model number. I'd like to know what year the TV was made. I'll go around to the other side because there's an input there that you can see. Composite video, left and right audio. Turn it around, get the sun right on it. And then we go down to the all important connections, and you can see that we have RF, of course, that is expected. Composite in again, composite out, component, very importantly, component, and also an S-video, which is quite surprising to have all of that together on such a small TV is quite unusual. We do start to see this sort of thing on these tail end televisions, but perhaps not quite with the S-video, a large assortment of connections like this. As you can see, there are 2 speakers separately wired. We shall see though, we shall see when it gets turned on as to whether it is true stereo coming out. Also the composite input connector cable. All these cables had to be removed from the chassis obviously to get that shell completely off. Here's the beast itself. This tube, Orico, however you pronounce it, type number 37SX110Y22-DC05. Put that into Google, you'll see quite a few references involving arcade machines with this tube. No date of manufacturer that I can find anywhere in particular, and no real chassis identification. I can't see any trimmers or pots that could be used to adjust anything. So not a lot of detail, but it is quite clean inside, fortunately. I should also add that the connections from the shell for the speakers and the composite input are in this area. That's for that composite input cable, and these 2 here are for stereo left and right, and they are both labelled left and right, giving more credence to true stereo. With the TV on, there's a few observations I like. It changes between channels very quickly. Touch of a button, moves quickly to the next input. The snow looks good. The picture's crisp. The snow looks white. It hasn't got that green, yellowed, worn out CRT tube look to it. The text's sharp. The television has its own menu system. Get straight to picture adjustments there. It also has this setting adjustment in here, which is for color. You can go from PAL and the 2 types of NTSC, so that's a good start to have that. There's also a calendar built into the television. I suppose they thought, well, we could include it. It wouldn't take much programming to incorporate it. That seems to be its default setting. In dates, January 2006. It wouldn't surprise me if the TV was made in 2006. You can go backwards and use an earlier date, however. There's also a built-in game. This game's it better be an RGB. It looks like it is. I think you need to push all of the blocks into the white sort of cross area up here to turn them into fruit. I'm surprised there's no actual sound built into this game as well. Bit of an unusual feature, and you can exit out straight away. And then there's just some more adjustments that you can do. There's actually some buttons on the remote that get you controlling the color system straight away. A button directly for this purpose. Also a button to directly play that game that you just saw. There's a button notebook. You can write notes here. And what an absolute painful experience that would be to push this button, these buttons on the remote, to toggle through all these letters to create a note of all places on a television. Couldn't think of anything worse to do, but a novelty indeed. There you go, the gun works, of course it does. The NES is PAL Composite. NTSC Saturn via Composite video. No problems displaying. I'll push that button, colouring button as it's called, auto, PAL, NTSC, 3.58 NTSC, no problems at all. Let's jump this same game, console, up to S-Video. Just switched over to S-Video. I can press display on the remote. It says S-Video. Again, colour system, auto, PAL, NTSC, 3.58 NTSC. So S-Video and Composite in NTSC is no problem at all. Let's do a quick test of PAL S-Video. The colour bars are being generated by the pattern generator. That's an S-Video signal to prove that PAL S-Video signals will work on the TV, unsurprisingly. There's our crosshatch. Little bit of misconversions down in that bottom right corner. Little bit unstraight here and there. A little bit kinked on the crossover points. Just a little few blemishes here and there. Was hoping to be slightly better. A little bit better than what it's showing, but I think the image will be still fairly good as we go along and try component video next. PlayStation 2 via component. This will be in NTSC right now. You might be able to hear the PlayStation 2. It's the old fat model with the fan that's blowing hard. Notice on this television that the corners are very curved, a very CRT look indeed. You'll see that better on the white screen. It's very noticeably curved in the corners. I have no issue with that. I've boosted the colour up quite a bit. It's well contained still, it's not bleeding out. Here's Monsterland. I've probably gone a little bit too far with the colour now. What we need to really do is vertically compress the picture and centre it a bit more, maybe even horizontally as well. I can get into the service menu, so I might do that shortly. Just do some more tests here first. Go to display. We'll get out of 480i and we'll go into 240p. And just have a quick look to see that everything looks okay, which it does. There's no funny business going on and that looks fine. Well, I can tell you that the service menu was quite the mission to figure it out. I haven't used any guide. I don't know of any service manual as such. So what you need to do to get into the service menu is turn the volume right down, which it is. You need to turn it down. Don't have any volume up. It won't work until you get the volume to 0 because you've got to use the volume button. You've got to use the volume button on the television, the volume down on the front of the TV, as well as the display button on the remote. Display button underneath my thumb, tapping on the remote now. You've got to press volume down on the TV. Hello, hand wave, bottom of the TV. So volume down and display at the same time. you're into the service menu. Very easy to get into once you know how to do it. There is one parameter on screen right now. I don't know what it does if you modify it, and there are many that you can scroll through. Like there are dozens and dozens and dozens. Fortunately, I've figured out a little bit more about how you can get into the groups of parameters. So press 1 on the remote. That'll get you into your geometry adjustments. 3 gets into others. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. So heaps and heaps of adjustments. But the main one you will use is button number 1 to get you into geometry adjustments. That top one, horizontal position, vertical size, and on it goes. So you can squash or stretch your picture as you need be fairly well. As far as saving, I'm not totally sure if it just saves automatically. It says you've got to press menu and mute to do the saving, but I found that it seems to save without even doing that much. As soon as you turn the power on and off, or off and on, you'll be out of the service menu. However, there is also another option I discovered here. You can press OK on the remote, and that'll bring up factory off. When you press OK again, everything's in yellow now. All the text is in yellow, and you're thinking, well, what difference does that make? But what it means is when factory is turned on, factory service mode is always on. Even if you turn the TV off and turn it back on, you'll be still in the service mode. So if you want to get out, make sure that that is switched to off. You just press OK to toggle. Either way, just press it, get it to off. And this way, when you turn the TV off and then back on, you'll be back to normal and free and outside the service menu. So as it is, I've made some adjustments to get Monsterland in the center or into the screen. I can see player 1 and player 2 properly now at the top, so that is an improvement. I've got the audio of my computer plugged into the TV and the results are not good, so the test I use is on YouTube. It's a simple audio playing of a left and a right and a both test.
You should be hearing this out of only the left side. You should be hearing this out of only the right side. You should be hearing this from both sides.
So without seeing my setup and without being able to hear it directly, you won't know the result. However, when I have sound plugged into the left channel of the television, all sound comes through it. All sound plugged into the right channel, the red RCA, has no sound come out of the TV. So it appears to be mono through the left speaker and have nothing through the right speaker. I don't know why they'd put a right speaker in if they're not going to use it at all, or even share it mono both across both sides. I don't know what's happening. I don't know if there's a fault in the television, but I'm going to say, as it is, that it only outputs sound mono through the left speaker. There are no options in the menu system for sound on this television either, so a bit of a weak point of the TV. Xbox 360 via component PAL 60, no problem displaying, and PAL 50, of course, no problem displaying. I'll go to 60. Just a little bit of Super Street Fighter 4 Arcade Edition, still on the Xbox 360 in component. Just going through tuning the picture qualities, getting the various things right. Sharpness in the middle, colours up a bit, brightness is in the middle, and contrast is still pretty much in the middle as well. Might finally end the video on the Wii U. Playing some Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze on the Nintendo Wii U via component video, so we're in 480i and it's looking quite nice. Looking at this model online, I found another model, the TCL T-34001. The review today is for the 34001. So someone here in Australia, a business online, is selling this 34002 model. It's already been sold. It looks very similar. It looks the same from the front. The buttons down the bottom, the side of it, the speaker. It appears to be exactly the same. However, if you look at the connections on the back, there is a difference. That model has no S-video, whereas this one here today does. So that might be something to keep in mind when you're looking around for a little television, depending on what connectors you want. You'd think the second model would be superior, perhaps being newer, but maybe not with that omission of S-video. So this particular television has an excellent array of connectors with composite, S-video component and RF. It has good NTSC and PAL playback. A little bit of a weak point is its sound. It appears to be only mono out of one speaker, so keep that in mind. Not that you'd buy a little TV for a fantastic sound system anyway, but it should have been true stereo, and there are some that are true stereo. Picture wise, it may not be the top of the tree, but it is still quite good. Component video giving it that very good input quality, that getting that good signal into the TV. So really not a bad TV at all. A good tail end effort from TCL. Definitely one to watch out for. Nice and light, carry it around, portable. Take it to your conventions, take it to your mate's place, whatever you need to do. As many of these El Cheapo tail end small televisions and larger televisions are quite decent. As long as you get RGB into it, you'll be fine, and this is no exception. So thank you for watching and staying tuned for the next one.